Today, my close friend and neighbor was abducted by ICE, and I feel like it's important to share what happened because things are changing really quick.
America, we just caught an immigration activist red-handed running a massive fundraiser scam. They raised $12,000 for a man that they called Paco, claiming he was an innocent business owner abducted by ICE without warrant. But here's the bombshell. Paco doesn't even exist. The man that they were defending is actually Joseph Zarabarbin, a Mexican national wanted for murder who lied about his criminal history when entering the United States. The activists deleted the entire fundraiser overnight once they got caught, but not before pocketing $12,000 from well-meaning donors who thought that they were helping an innocent immigrant.
That my friend who was abducted farms at. And there was two unmarked black vehicles with tinted windows. They were Jeeps, they were new, they matched. And I immediately was worried it was ICE.
Why the you lying? Why you always lying?
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This story perfectly shows how immigration activists will lie, cheat, and steal to protect criminals, even murder suspects, while deceiving good-hearted Americans who think they're donating to help legitimate immigrants. Let me break down this scam from the beginning. Carissa Miller, an anti-ICE activist from Washington State, created a GoFundMe campaign claiming her neighbor, quote-unquote Paco, was an innocent business owner who was abducted by ICE agents without warrant.
So there's a shady article in the Olympian, says that a Lacey business owner has been abducted by ICE. The only source for this news article seems to be a GoFundMe that was set up by an activist, an anti-ICE activist who happened to live next door to this guy named Paco.
According to Miller's sob story, Paco owned a mechanic shop and a small organic farm, was pulled over while riding as a passenger, and was removed from his vehicle without explanation. She claimed he was a wonderful friend and neighbor who would show up for his friends and family in the truest ways.
They pulled him over, didn't ask any questions, she pulled the phone out of her hand when she tried to record. They didn't go after her, who speaks no English. My guess is because he is a business owner in town and he pays taxes. And
why the you lying?
The campaign described him as someone who would come with me to get my first horse, pulled my truck out of a ditch at 11 p.m., always made time to stop and say hello. She painted a picture of a hardworking immigrant who was being prosecuted by the evil ICE agents for no reason. But here's what should have been the first red flag. They never used his real name, never provided any documentation of his business, and never explained why ICE would target a supposedly innocent business owner. The entire story was based on the word of one activist with a clear anti-immigration enforcement agenda. You know what's crazy? While we're talking about people getting scammed by activists who lie who they really are, there's another area people getting taken advantage of all the time: Medicare. If you're 65 or older, you've probably dealt with people trying to push you towards plans that benefit them, not you. That is exactly why Chapter is different. They connect you with trusted advisors who actually tell you the truth about Medicare options. No lies, no fake stories. They won't push you towards plans that make them more money. Just honest guidance to help you find the right coverage that actually fits your needs and your budget. What I love about Chapter is their advisors are completely transparent. They take the time to understand your situation, explain everything honestly, and help you make the right choice. Whether you're new to Medicare or thinking about switching plans, they'll give you the real facts. If you want someone who actually tells you the truth about Medicare, call 270-467-0614 or go to askchapter.org/Tyson. That's askchapter.org/Tyson. Don't let anybody scan you. Get honest help you can trust. Now back to how this citizen journalist exposed this fraud. Citizen journalists started digging into the story because something just didn't add up. They couldn't find business records of anybody named Paco in the area. They couldn't find property records. The whole story seemed completely manufactured.
So we had gone about reaching out to the woman behind the GoFundMe. trying to check property records in the area, checking business licenses, because she also said he owned a farm, he owned a mechanic shop, couldn't find anyone named Paco.
Then the truth started coming out. A subscriber contacted the investigator saying that they thought that they found Paco. At the same time, a landlord reached out saying that he rented a space to somebody for a mechanic shop, but didn't know him as Paco. He knew him as Yusuf Bourbon.
I got a message from an undivided subscriber who said, hey, I think I've ID'd Paco. And then at the same time, we got a message on our website from basically a landlord down in the Olympia area who said, hey, I rented space to this guy Paco for a mechanic shop, but I didn't know him by the name Paco.
The investigators compared the photos. They found a distinct mole on the chin that appeared in both the AI-generated sketch used in the fundraiser and the official ICE booking photo. It was the same person, but he wasn't the innocent victim that the activist claimed. Here's the bombshell that destroys the entire activist narrative. Yusuf Zerta Bourbon is a 34-year-old Mexican citizen who entered the United States on a tourist visa and never left. But more importantly, he was wanted for murder in Mexico.
So here is what we have learned from Yusuf Zarate Bourbon. Again, about Yusuf Zarate Bourbon, 34 years old. He's a Mexican citizen. He entered the U.S. on a tourist visa. How many times have we heard that story? Came to the U.S. on a tourist visa, not came to the U.S. seeking asylum or anything like that, entered the U.S., oh, I'm just a tourist. And he never freaking left. Turns out, he's wanted for murder.
And here's the other thing. He wasn't arrested by regular ICE agents. He was arrested by U.S. Marshals and Homeland Security investigations because he violated the conditions of his entry into the United States by failing to disclose that he was wanted for murder in his home country.
He was arrested by the U.S. Marshals and Homeland Security investigations. So that's who picked him up.
The businesses were real. He did own Zerta Farms and Riaz Auto Repair, but everything else about the activist story was a lie designed to generate sympathy and donations for a murder suspect. Once the truth came out, Carissa Miller went full damage control mode. Within hours of the real story breaking, she started deleting her social media presence, and the GoFundMe campaign, guess what? Just disappeared.
So as of right now, the GoFundMe page is down. And also her Instagram page, where she was posting these videos about this horrible thing that happened to Paco, nuked.
GoFundMe confirmed they took down the fundraiser based on the reporting that exposed the truth. The company said they couldn't verify the story that Miller was telling, which is corporate speak for this is a scam. But here's the key question. What happened to the $12,000 that was raised? GoFundMe says they'll refund donations when campaigns are taken down for fraud. But how many donors even know their money was being used to help a murder suspect? What makes this story even worse is how mainstream media amplified this scam without doing any fact checking. The Olympian newspaper ran a story with the headline saying Lacey business owner abducted by ICE, based entirely on the activist GoFundMe campaign. The newspaper never independently verified a single fact from the GoFundMe. They never contacted ICE for comment. They never checked business records or property records. They just took this activist's word with a nose ring and published it as news.
Not one fact pushed in the GoFundMe was ever independently verified by the Olympian. The entire story was based on the narrative pushed in the GoFundMe.
Even when the truth came out, the newspaper refused to correct or retract their story. They've had multiple days to do basic journalism, but the false story is still up on their website, continuing to spread misinformation about ICE operations. This is exactly how fake news spreads. Activists create false narratives, mainstream media amplifies them without fact-checking, and by the time the truth comes out, the damage is already done. America, this story exposes everything wrong with the immigration activist movement and their media allies. They will literally fundraise for murder suspects as long as it fits their anti-ICE narrative, then disappear when they get caught lying. Carissa Miller raised $12,000 from well-meaning Americans who thought that they were helping an innocent immigrant. Instead, they were funding legal defense for a murder suspect who violated the terms of his entry into the United States. That's not compassion. That is fraud. The mainstream media was complacent in this scam by publishing the activist claims without doing any fact-checking. They turned a legitimate law enforcement operation into a story about ICE abducting innocent immigrants, fueled by hatred against federal agents who were just doing their job. Yusuf Bourbon is now awaiting deportation back to Mexico, where he'll face murder charges. The activists who defended him have gone dark. The media outlets have amplified their lies, refusing to correct the record. And $12,000 and donations disappeared into the ether. This is what happens when ideology trumps truth. Immigration activists are so committed to opposing any enforcement that they'll defend murder suspects, lie to donors, and disappear when they get caught. And the media is so biased that they'll publish activist propaganda as news without asking a single critical question. This story shows why you can't trust immigration activists or media outlets that amplify their lies. Always demand the truth, always verify the facts, and never donate to a cause based on emotional appeals alone. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comments section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.